Let's look at the switches to improve business development. There are 7 switches, and when we flip these switches, the light bulb of business development really turns on. The first switch is owner or CEO support, really critical to have support from the top. Next is the executive committee, which could be either a catalyst or a terrible drag, a source of friction and inefficiency in implementing an aggressive business development program. Next is sales manager support. The sales manager is the single most important factor in implementing and success of the program. The sales team itself can provide a lot of support, coming together as a team and doing team projects. Company culture should support business development. And then, under presenting our case, there are the selling tools and the method of presenting. We're going to focus mostly on sales manager support. When all these switches are aligned, you should have out-of-the-box exponential sales growth. Common evolutionary stages in sales management. First is anarchy. There really isn't a system, and this lends itself tremendously to blackmail, where the ownership is blackmailed by the sales team. The second stage is motivational sales management, where each salesperson is treated like a customer and we try to motivate them. This can also look like a Gallup pollster sales management or a camp counselor. This is pretty weak sales management and also lends itself to blackmail by the sales team. Strong sales management begins with what we call rigorous sales management. We have a real business person who can do financial analysis, figure out profitability, takes a strong stand to support profitability, and is willing to fire poor performers. Now, achieving rigorous sales management is such a milestone for many companies that they never get to entrepreneurial sales management, which adds a transformational component. When we talk of transformation, it brings to mind the change curve. So in a change process, the person who's going to change starts out in a stage of satisfaction. Let's say we want the sales team to change, to try new methods. It's not uncommon for them to deny the need for a change. And if we were to go to the next step and produce some evidence, why there would be resistance. People even get angry. Now this visual is based on a model in a book called On Death and Dying, which describes the grieving cycle. Anytime there's change, there's a sense of loss and grieving. Now the rigorous sales manager can say, hey, I've got somebody in front of me who is resisting. Or I have somebody who's come around the curve and is now exploring and moving forward. But what the rigorous sales manager cannot do is coach this resisting salesperson around the curve. That takes the entrepreneurial transformation ability of the entrepreneurial sales manager. Once they get to exploration, they can move forward to hope and commitment. Another critical issue in sales management is dealing with risk aversion or risk tolerance. Very often we run into salespeople who don't want to take a chance with their customers. You hear them say, I don't want to risk the relationship. I don't want to take a chance with my customer or my prospect, and they're treating them like private property. Now, this is a mistake that can be nurtured and encouraged by sales management, and it needs to be eradicated because prospects and customers belong to the company. They're entrusted to the salesperson for wise management. So often there's a gap between the risk tolerance or the risk that leadership wants to undertake and the risk tolerance of salespeople. And a key question is, do they align? And if they do not, how do we get them to align? Typically, salespeople need to be bolder. They need to take more chances. Now, the rigorous sales manager can tell you this salesperson is bold enough or they're not bold enough. It takes the entrepreneurial sales manager to transform a salesperson and help them achieve higher levels of being bolder and undertaking more risk or increasing their risk tolerance. The WOW toolbox is another area where we could distinguish between rigorous management and entrepreneurial management. Why the rigorous manager can say, do you have one or don't you? But the entrepreneurial manager can help create the WOW toolbox. It's selling tools. These are selling tools to help the salesperson elicit wows during their presentation. What's in the WOW toolbox? You have risk reduction strategies, great consultative sales questions, testimonial letters, and hard-hitting messages, very strong visual metaphor and iconography. Now, wows are two-edged swords. Well, on one edge of the sword is, if we're not getting any wows, the salesperson probably needs to amp up his or her presentation. And a rigorous sales manager can from an accountability point of view, can say, are we getting wows? Are we not getting wows? But it takes an entrepreneurial sales manager to transform the presentation of a salesperson to elicit the wows. But if you get a wow, the question is, what did you harvest with it? How did you move the program forward? Did you get an introduction to a higher level decision maker? Did they agree to tour our office or our factory? Did they check a reference? Did they fill out a credit application? So if we got the wow, what did you harvest with the wow? Now we call these things we harvest PIKs, payments in kind, and they can be used as a forward-looking metric in a pipeline evaluation. So in summary, you definitely want to have rigorous management. However, if you want to evolve your sales team, if you want to transform them, you need the entrepreneurial component. Thank you.